Couple smiles back this way, please. There we go. Okay. Thank you. Straight ahead, please. And just the actors, possibly, if that's okay. There we go. Great. Guys, can you start right to left?
I want to thank Toronto for raising me to love movies.
Hello, hello!
Everyone has a big imagination. All of us do.
This is exciting. My first film to premiere here at the Toronto Film Festival. It's an exciting night.
You are the most globally exciting festival in the world.
Hello and welcome to the press conference for Cake. A few notes before we begin. This press conference will be streamed live at www.tiff.net, and still photographs will be made available on the TIFF media site. Volunteers are in the room with microphones to assist you with your questions. Please remember to identify yourself and your media outlet. Please note, no photography is permitted during this press conference. Only the pre-approved wire services may take photographs, and we ask that you do so from the first row and back. If you could take a moment to turn your cell phones to silent. Our moderator for today is Johanna Schneller, and it is now my pleasure to welcome the director, screenwriter, and cast for Cake.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out for the TIFF press conference for Cake. We're very pleased to have the director, screenwriter, and cast with us today. I'm going to throw out the first question, and then if everybody can, you know the drill, raise your hands, you'll get the mic. But Patrick, just tell us briefly the genesis of this project. Where did it come from for you?
Sure. I had a friend in Sweden who actually ran a group for women with chronic pain, and he would tell me these incredible stories about how brave and supportive these women were. And having a perverse sense of humor, one day I was like, what if there were a woman in this group who was just antagonistic and horrible? And I couldn't get that character out of my head. So for years, I just sort of had her in my head, and then wrote the short story, and then wrote the screenplay that it became Cake.
And Jennifer, it's a really physical performance for you. Can you talk a little bit about maybe what homework you did and how you got ready?
I did quite a lot of homework studying. I have two girlfriends who have suffered from chronic pain, and one who actually is a dear friend and a stunt woman who experienced a very severe accident and became addicted to pain meds and had to. So it was basically just asked about their physicality. Talk to psychopharmacologists, different doctors, just about because for me it was really important to be true to what the medicine that I was taking physically would be doing to my body and at what point. And I think that was actually kind of my biggest challenge was, as we were shooting out of order, having a ledger of where I was in my pain management and in my physical, because she was always physically, in pain, but it was at different degrees. And I wore a brace, which was someone told me it was a brilliant idea because I tend to, slouch, and there was no, it helped me to just keep that. And it turns out if you walk like that for 5 weeks, you do start to actually become in pain.
It was really an extraordinary amount of preparation. I mean, because it was about 6 weeks, I think, before we began shooting, where you were really, moving around and figuring out the physicality and also the sort of the vocal quality of your voice. I thought was so amazing that sort of you dropped down into that lower timbre and stuff, and there was just an amazing, I think, kind of physical reality that was created with this character that you then inhabited with this stunning inner emotional life.
Thank you. You're sweet.
Questions in from in the second row with a hand up, please.
Hello, Juan Carlos Garcia from Mexico City. This is for Jennifer and for the whole cast. Jennifer, I'm not very sure if you're aware that Mrs. Adriana Barraza, she is a great teacher. She has a lot of alums. I'm not very sure if you learned something from her regarding teaching, acting, working with her in the film. And for the whole cast, which one is the best cake that you've ever tried in your whole life?
That was like a really good, serious question, and then a really silly question.
I can actually answer the silly one. I think we had a great cake the day we ate our cake on set. That one, the fudge frosting was really delicious.
I remember, yeah.
It really was.
Tell us a little bit about just the genesis of the title. Like, where did the title come from for you?
Oh, my Lord. Well, working with, honestly, Adriana just every day would come in so excited, and we would be, every scene that we would work on every day, she would just have, we didn't necessarily talk shop, but we just sort of were in our characters and experiencing the day that they were, you know, that Adriana and Claire were having that day, and it was always we were just living in the reality beautifully, and she's just never out of character in the most beautiful way. Excuse me?
Did you understand her Spanish?
Excuse me? I'm kidding. Yes. No. Yes, I did. No, I didn't understand her Spanish. I understand her English.
I have to understand English, but maybe not.
It's the most beautiful thing and adorable, the way
Thank
you
you
speak.
very much.
I love it
No,
more than
I
anything.
think that the mainly teaching is for everybody.
Experiencing.
And yes, experience. And the mainly teacher is in the set. When you saw the eyes of your partner and you discover true, deep and understanding. I think this is the main teaching for everybody. And we have a big teacher is our director. Our director told us what he wants to our movie and to our characters. What?
Your favorite cake?
My favorite cake. Well, I don't know. Every kind of cakes.
So
I have to say, look my body, you know.
I even met a cake I didn't like.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak to the genesis of the title a little bit?
Literally, I have cake cufflinks on, so it was a long game for me to get the title so I could wear the cupcake.
It all started with cufflinks.
Actually, the title comes, and it's in the movie. There's an absolutely beautiful scene between Anna and Jen towards the end in the hospital where you find out what this cake symbolizes or means to Jen's character. And it's just a devastatingly beautiful scene. Terrific. So.
I have to also just to say to you that you really did, the way you let this story unfold without giving away the answers, you know, right up front, it was just such a beautiful discovery from scene to scene. Not over-explaining and letting the audience figure it out as they were going. I just think you really made a movie, and you wrote a movie, and you made a movie. We all did, but that kind of allowed an audience to, you know, discover what the story was and what the characters without it being spelled out in your face.
And it's rare that a script has that kind of confidence where it allows the reader to just be smart and learn things as they go and not over-explain. It's really remarkable.
Anna, your character especially is a figure of mystery throughout much of the movie, and there are a million different ways she could be played. You play her, there's lots of different kind of edges to the way you play her. Can you talk a little bit about, you know?
Yeah, when Daniel and I were first talking about Nina, we talked, there was always a sort of question of how much it was going to be an actual supernatural occurrence and how much of it was just, or maybe she's just in Claire's mind, or is there some fun in playing between those two worlds? And we talked about who Nina was in her life and, you know, about what her story was with chronic pain and her suicide. But then Claire didn't really know her that well. So there would be times when I think we found on set that it was actually much more interesting to not play who she was in her life and just to play Claire's vision of her and to be the person that Claire almost feared that she was, which is someone who would really judge her. And that's why she manifests as the person, as the part of Claire's brain, rather, that comes back and says, says all the things that that are sort of lurking in her subconscious of, the things that she hates about herself and the things that she's thinking about, and says to her, this now is the time to think about all that darkness, and I'm going to come back and remind you of all that darkness.
I thought Anna should have appeared like, ooh, like the Scooby-Doo movie.
Well,
We talked about that.
she did in the early cut. But I think, I think Anna, said to me something like, wait, if I get to try to drown Jen Aniston, I'm in, which is why I think she signed on.
Question in the middle of the back there, yeah.
Hi, I'm Sherry Block with CTV.ca. Jennifer, this is being called one of your most courageous roles, and I wondered, how did you find it, and how is it different from anything else you've done?
Well, my God, it's just the farthest thing from anything I've ever done. And when I read it, it was so exciting, and I knew this would be an extraordinary challenge for me, and I was so excited and so ready to just dive in and take it on. And meeting Daniel and having this wonderful collaboration, it was everything that I hoped as an actor, and being given the opportunity was just, I'm just so grateful.
Me too.
Question in the back. Yep.
Hi guys, Ashley Rose, CTV News here. Jennifer, I'd like you to answer this, and then if anyone else wants to jump in, you've had a chance to experience many Toronto audiences with the premieres that you've had here over the years. I understand last night you got a standing ovation. Hoping to get your thoughts on the Toronto audience.
Oh my Lord, they're just so darn nice. I mean, they're extraordinary. I think they're just a very wonderful. Toronto is beautiful. The people are beautiful. I think they're extremely intelligent and receive films beautifully. And I really felt like we were in a room that understood what our movie was about, was touched, was at all the, the whole, I just felt that they understood it. I mean, and hopefully it just doesn't happen in Toronto.
Yes. Someone's got the mic, yeah.
Hello, my name is Swathi Sharan. I'm from Minority Review, and I guess I have two questions here. One is, I guess, for you, Patrick. I'm wondering. Actually, I noticed in the movie how you're showing these guys going to Tijuana to get, the medicine. So I'm wondering, where you came up with this idea of them going there and then also sneaking the pills into the Mary statue.
You a DEA agent?
Yeah. Is this being recorded, and am I going to incriminate myself? Allegedly. No, I mean, listen. I mean, if you live in Southern California for any length of time, you understand that people go there for many things. You can go there and get medication without a prescription. You can go there to get dental work done very cheaply. I mean, my husband and I have many friends who go and get a root canal or a cap. It's because it's cheaper. And so, at sort of this idea of Southern California is just sort of going and doing these sort of illegal things without any repercussions. I think the line, which is great in the movie, where the pharmacist says, you're a rich white woman. Do you ever get in trouble? And I think that,
Question here in the second row, please.
It's a question. Oh, sorry, Jane Mulcairns from the UK. It's a question for Jennifer. Just talking about it being a courageous role. Obviously, Claire doesn't spend an awful lot of time on her hair and makeup in the situation that she's in. I mean, later on for lunch. But I just wondered how you feel about that and how you approach that as an actress, because, it's not a way that we're generally used to seeing you on screen. Did you have any anxiety? Did you cover up the mirrors in the trailers?
No, I loved every minute of it. It was extremely liberating to do that. I loved it because, you know, as women, we do feel we have to live up to an expectation, you know, whether it's on camera or going to the market or whatever it is. And the truth of the matter is that that's just not the way it is. We don't always have our high heels on. We don't always have our hair and makeup on. We don't, and and this character was someone who basically just had given up on just even waking up sometimes. So that's what it required, and that's how I approached it, and I loved it. I think there's beauty in all forms of, whether it's in pain, whether it's grief, whether it's, you know, an award show or whatever it is. I think there's beauty in all of it. And I thought that was important to really portray that.
And I just have to add to that it's, you know, because I have been staring at Jen's face for months now in the editing room, and for me it was this extraordinary experience of seeing somebody who really is one of the most beautiful women in the world without a stitch of makeup on, and somehow in this film, I think because of the beauty that comes from the inside, I've never found you more beautiful.
Let's get married.
Okay. Do you want to tell Justin, or shall I tell Justin?
He'll be okay with it.
Okay.
Got a question, yeah?
'Cause I'm married too.
It's all right. I'm sure there's a state where that's legal.
Nobody saw this coming.
Just to add to that a little bit, you take such good care of yourself and your character doesn't. When you went home, was it hard to kind of switch that off, or, you know, you wanted to do yoga and have a smoothie, but you know that your character wouldn't do that, you know?
Every night I came home, I did down dog and a smoothie. No, you know, I honestly, there was not a lot of home time. It was pretty much going home, going to sleep, waking up, we pretty much lived and breathed these people for the 5 weeks that we were doing it. But I mean, if anything, I was instructed I didn't do anything physically. I let myself pretty much fall apart physically, and that was really important for me emotionally and physically. And, you know, the one thing I did have to do was have some treatments on the weekends, because I would have pinched nerves and pinched this and stiff that, and, you know, just from, you know, the physicality of Claire.
Front row here.
For Latin America. I have a question for Chen. Everybody laughed in the theater when you pick up the girl who wants to become an actress and you say, oh, that's a sad story. Yeah. So I wonder, what is your sad story? What is the genesis, how you wanted to become an actress?
How did I want to become an actress? Oh, I didn't think I could do anything else. My family are actors. I grew up, was surrounded by actors, and I always was just fascinated with it. And I went to a creative school, but I didn't have my sad story. Let's see, do I have a sad story? Oh, not really. I mean, I wasn't a Bob. I was pretty tragic. I did do a Bob's Big Boy commercial that was pretty tragic. Excuse me?
Your passion.
Oh my God, my passion it grows from moment to moment every day.
Lady in the stripes, please. Yeah.
Well, everybody already asked you all the questions, so I just wanted to know, Mila Kanev, Mix TV, what were the most challenging moments beside the physicality, and the best and the worst moments while you're shooting the movie?
Oh God, there were so many great moments. The most challenging. There were different moments. There were different things that I thought would. I think the moment with Leonard was pretty challenging physically, but that also felt kind of primal. I think that
that's the Bill Macy character.
Bill Macy character, yes, beautiful Bill Macy. Do you remember?
Well,
because I honestly felt like the challenge for me again, like I was really just being authentic physically, moment to moment where we were. But
I think the challenge was existing 5 weeks in this kind of emotional and physical space, and that was what was sort of amazing and true for all of these actors who really inhabited these roles. I think, you know, Jen's was the most physically grueling and the most kind of emotionally grueling, but that was the extraordinary challenge, and I think we were all sort of inspired watching you show up every day and push through that. It was pretty beautiful.
The best moments were every moment. I mean, we had a really good time considering the subject matter. We had such a fun, wonderful, amazing crew, a gorgeous female DP. And I mean, look at these people I got to work with every day. So the best moments were every moment.
I wonder if any of the actors want to speak to this idea of, you know, like our culture is all supposed to be about, you know, success and moving forward, and these notions that you're bringing up in your film of pain and grief, you know, those things are stuff that we're supposed to just get over. And we're supposed to get over it in a certain amount of time. And we don't really have a language for grief and a language for chronic pain. And you know, if you hear the same story, you know, over and over, you want the story to change, and everybody's sort of waiting for the story to change. Talk a little bit about being in that space where you're open to the notions of pain and grief. Adriana, you want to start?
Well, I think pain, physical pain, become people in a monster, and even that these people is a love people, because pain is a monster in itself, and I think. If you try to discover the lovely people inside this monster, you can recover it, you know? And I think all of us has lost, has pain in our lives, and we only have to remember that. If not, we criticize and pointing with a finger this kind of horrible thing about people. Love.
Yep.
Sam, do you want to?
It's looked down on as you know. It's weak. You're frowned upon. You're not.
Show strength.
You have to show strength to power through. And I think in pain and in loss and in tragedy, only, you know, the breakdowns, you have the breakthroughs, and I think it's something we all share universally. That we've all been through some form of pain or loss in varying degrees, of course, but. We all have empathy for people. When you watch a movie, you feel tears, you feel joy, you're feeling for what it is that you're experiencing on film. So as actors, we're so lucky that we get to actually channel that and tell a story.
And Sam, your character is sort of the obverse of that, in that, you know, he's coping with something that someone did to him, and you know, that kind of loss also comes with a sort of anger. Do you want to talk a little bit about your character?
I think it's just, you know, the movie's a reflective movie. That's what it is, isn't it? It's about letting go. And I think this character's already let go. Whether he's dealt with it correctly, you know, that's what your point is. There's no right or wrong way to deal with loss. You know, all you hope for is that through all the dark clouds comes the rainbow.
Question in the middle there, yes?
It's me again for Mexico, for Adriana and for Daniel. Adriana, I'm very glad to see a character that is not the kind of cliche from Mexico that always like the drug dealer or something like that. It's a mother that takes care of the boss. Do you think in Hollywood they are opening more doors for Latin Americans, for Mexicans, for more like positive characters? And for the director, do you think the doors are more open, or the directors are more like open for that ideas of having Latins in good roles?
Well, I think yes. I made here in the United States a lot of movies with a lot of kind of characters, and I think yes. The doors are open for us, for every kind of characters, because we Latin people are a reality for this amazing country, and these movies in America, in the United States, show the reality, and we are a reality too. I think.
And I think the film is it is very representative of life in Los Angeles, where, there is an incredibly large Latino population, and all of our lives intersect in these interesting ways. I hope the doors are continuing to open. I can only speak very specifically about the experience of working with Adriana, which was so amazing, and Emmanuel, who also played Arturo. It was a fantastic experience. What was really interesting about it is that I don't speak Spanish, and so it was a fantastic kind of learning process to figure out how to communicate. And what you discover is that there's, you can sort of bypass that language barrier and understand through, through kind of gestures and little words and eyes and things. And it was just an extraordinary connection that I felt we were able to form and kind of work past it. That was very liberating.
He had to learn that with me as well.
Question? Yes, there's one in the middle.
Hello, I'm actually asking a question for Jennifer. I was just wondering, you did such a great job in acting this, character, and I'm wondering two things. Like, one is, what is your personal view about your character, and secondly, I'm also wondering, did you actually attend any real life support groups, just to get an idea for the character?
Well, as I said earlier, I did not actually attend support groups, but I did speak to people who had gone through and do experience chronic pain and have gone through addiction and loss. I'm sorry, what was the first part of your question? Oh, I think I love her. I really do. I found her. I just thought she was a beautiful, tortured, layered character, and I felt such extreme empathy for her and what she was struggling through, and the journey that she takes and that she forges through, and actually, beautifully decides to stand up again or sit up again.
Daniel, can you tell us where in the process you and Jen got together and why you wanted her to play this part specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, the process of making this film has been fairly magical, and I only read the script 13 months ago. I was actually judging a screenwriting competition. And I had read Patrick's script, and I just thought it was one of the most extraordinary things that I had ever read. And my life and producing partner, Ben Barnes, and I immediately swooped in and begged Patrick to let us option it. And
not beg. You're like, what's going on with the script? Not a lot.
And we worked with Patrick to kind of develop the script, and he's an enormously talented and very fast writer, and it was done in a short period of time. And Ben and I then started to send out the script, and it was kind of amazing, actually, because the response from the agencies was so extraordinary and so unlike anything that I'd ever experienced before, because there was this recognition that it was a beautiful script and a fantastic role for a woman, and so there was a lot of interest from agents, from people, and so we realized that we had many different kinds of options in casting the film, and we sort of said, well, okay, so now let's just cast the dream person, and Jen is somebody that I have loved for the longest time, and particularly loved her performance in The Good Girl, which I thought was so extraordinary. And because the character is herself, can be difficult and acerbic and somewhat harsh, it felt like we had to cast somebody who you can forgive immediately. And I think Jen has such innate warmth to her, and I think she's so beloved by people that it made sense that was the sort of the person that can realize. But I wrote Jen's super passionate letter about what I loved about her and why I thought she was great for the movie, and we sat down, and I have this really elaborate mood book that I put together that has the whole sort of kind of vision and visual style of the movie and the tone and the character stuff, and because Jen is herself a filmmaker, it was sort of, it wasn't the sort of typical director-actor meeting. It was sort of, about kind of filmmakers coming together and figuring it out, and that's how I really like to work with all of my actors, is sort of treat them as kind of co-filmmakers. It was a wonderful, incredibly exciting meeting, and not just because she said I looked like Mark Ruffalo, which was literally like the greatest compliment anybody could ever pay, and I just kind of died and went to heaven and thought, okay, it's all good now, because Jennifer Aniston just said I looked like Mark Ruffalo. It was kind of a great moment, but we really sort of hit it off so fantastically well, and then we were so blessed. She signed on right away, and then we were so blessed to find Kristen Hahn and Courtney Solomon and Mark Canton, the other producers in this project, and came on board. And together with Ben, the four of these people were able to put this film together in an astonishingly fast period of time.
What we've said, we have windburn. It's insane that this. I mean, we didn't meet. That meeting was. It was November of last year, so it's not even been a year.
That's a record.
So it's a record. I mean, it's on, I guess, love at first sight, right?
Yeah. No, it was definitely love. I mean, I personally would say I would resent a filmmaker who was getting up and bragging about how quickly his movie get made. But I will just say, for the record, this was 13 months. My first film was 13 years from inception to completion, so there is a bit of karmic retribution.
You can split it at 6.5.
But I just want to say that I think there's something about Jennifer and Anna and Sam and Adriana and Patrick and our amazing producers. We all sort of came together in this way to make this movie, and it was so liberating. There's something about the speed of the process which was fantastically liberating. We all just signed on together to make this one movie, and nobody ever wavered, and it was exhilarating.
Heather Seaman from Rogers TV. This question is for Sam. We've seen you in a lot of action-packed movies, a lot of physicality, a lot of special effects. Talk to us about taking on a role like this, which is quite different from some of your other films.
I'm getting older now. They hurt you a bit, to be honest. Look, I did movies like this in Australia before I kind of had another career after Avatar, obviously. And they're the movies that you do that, in a way, are the hardest. Running around with monsters and going and saving the planet and stuff like that. That's the fun stuff, But this, if you're not 100% honest to what you're portraying, it all kind of disappears. And they're also the movies that connect most to an audience because we see ourselves so clearly in them. And to me, this was, the whole movie just dealt with something that I knew. I'm all for making movies for an audience. That's what it's about. It's not about making it for me or for my career. Is this story going to travel and affect people from all around the world? And the thing this movie deals with is death. It's what we all have in common, death and taxes. So, that was a great point I knew that this movie could be seen anywhere in the world and someone will, find an affinity with it. So that's why I kind of, asked if I could do it.
You have a great sense of craft. I mean, you're too humble to say it out loud, but I mean, it was really, Sam also did enormous preparation for this film, and I think for the first, for several weeks before you began shooting, you sort of isolated yourself a bit from the world to really sort of put yourself into this character, and I think that's why it sort of came together. What's that?
No, I think that is, like Daniel was really nice. You like to work with directors who trust you and don't hire you as a puppet or a cardboard cutout. I've worked with some of them, and it's kind of breaks your heart a bit because you've got something to give. So, Daniel, as he said, he's very open, and the other actors, I'm sure, would agree with me. You come armed up, and being a gun for hire on a movie like this, where you've only got several days to come in and support someone, you've got to come in prepared, and I really like that. I really like a director that trusts the direction you want to take the character, and I really like the fact that you come in, and if you're not ready, then you're not supporting and you're not doing your job. So that's there's something about that I like.
We have a question here.
This question is for Jennifer. So, in this movie, you obviously take on the role of someone in chronic pain, and it's very heavy. Did it make you appreciate or feel more grateful for some of the smaller things in your life?
Oh, My God, yes. I mean, I'm grateful for the smaller things in my life every day, but this just allowed me to have, like I said, to be able to portray this woman who I would hope would speak for all humans ever experiencing loss, great traumatic loss or pain, was it was just extremely challenging and also extremely humbling to imagine, you know, to know. We know that there are people, that is a human being, and they're out there. And it does make you, I mean, appreciate by living in that body for that long, and imagine having to actually live in that body. But I think we all understand that that's happening, and I think we have empathy for it every day, and appreciate, my gosh, the fact that we can get up, that we can, you know, stand up, we can run, that we're all very blessed.
Can you elaborate a little bit?
What makes me, my life is a happy life. It's a choice.
I was going to say, can you elaborate a little bit on, because you talked about the physical space of this character. Can you talk a little bit about the psychological impact of it too? Like, were you able to sleep? Did she disturb your dreams? Did you want her to? Did you talk a little bit about?
No, honestly, I really was. I went home and I went home. I hugged my dogs and I, you know, hugged my fiance, and I just went to bed, and I just was preparing. I was going to work, and I was just living in Clare, and I wasn't. I mean, it was a hard place to be, but I slept, and I was just eager to get to work every day. I really loved spending that time with her.
Question here in the second row.
Hi, it's another question for Jennifer. Obviously, Claire is really struggling with grief, well, as is Sam's character too. And your fiancée has been in The Leftovers recently, which is also about grief. Yeah, I just wondered, is that something that the two of you kind of talked about at home? Because obviously, both of your characters are going through extreme grief. Or is it something that you try to maybe keep outside of the house with characters and situations that are so intense?
Yeah. Well, we don't talk a lot about grief at home, but I mean, to be honest, oh, babe, how was your day? Man,
We're going on a day trip to the cemetery.
Yeah, let's go take a romantic picnic at the, no. We actually, Justin is probably one of the funniest human beings that I have ever encountered, and so I have the great fortune to laugh a lot. So I think that, yeah, no, we don't actually take it home, but he does it quite beautifully on film, and I think, like I said, yeah, we laugh a lot.
Question in the front row.
Winter again. I was watching the movie, and there's a scenes in Spanish where you have to read the movie because people won't understand. So I was wondering, we grew up watching movies with subtitles. Do you watch movies in Spanish that you have to read them? Do you have any favorites? Foreign movies with subtitles? For all three actors?
Morris Perez, I like.
Well, Guillermo del Toro, Adriana's worked with.
I'm Mexican, and I grew up like you. Well, it's good for me.
Watching foreign movies that you have to read them
Yeah.
instead of, you know, to read the subtitles like we do.
It can be challenging.
So you don't.
But I think also the great thing is if, like, in the scenes where Adriana is like ranting in Spanish, you don't need to speak Spanish. It's just, you know, you understand it. You don't have to speak.
Yeah,
It's
I
such a
think,
good.
yes. The action is enough clear, I think. The scene is so clear, I think, yeah.
Does anybody else have a question
Yeah.
in the back? Anybody? Going once, going twice? Well, I just want to thank you all so much for coming, and we really appreciate the screenwriter, the director, and the cast coming out, and thank you all for coming. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.